go. Some bad news for President Obama's power grab. First, a federal judge blocking the president's executive order on immigration. Then this week, a court of appeals agreeing with that trial court judge. So now what is President Obama going to try to do? Fox News correspondent Shannon Bream joins me. Shannon, what happened and what's the president doing?
Well, the president has put together a couple of programs back in November that would allow about 5 million people who are here illegally to stay in the country, not be deported. That was immediately challenged by 26 different states. And they got a big win back in February when the whole thing was put on hold. And last night when the Fifth Circuit, you know, it's just one step below the Supreme Court, for those who don't know, of course, Greta knows, basically said we're going to affirm what that lower court judge did. These programs go nowhere. All
right. And 3 judges made this decision in the Court of Appeals?
They did. It was a 2-1.
2-1. OK. So what did President Obama and his Justice Department decide to do?
They have immediately decided they're going to try to go to the Supreme Court. And, you know, it's got to be fast tracked now to make it through the term, which ends in June. It sounds like a long time away. But the calendars for arguments are pretty much filled up through the spring. This would have to be heard in March or April. The decision would then come in June, right in the middle of a heated presidential election. But again, there's no guarantee the justices will take it.
All right. So the judges get together and decide whether or not they're going to consider that. And there are 9 of them. So how many is it going to take to decide whether they're even going to consider it?
To hear a case, you got to get 4 votes. And you know it's always behind closed doors. We don't know who votes how unless somebody files a written dissent. They disagree with the decision. So you got to get 4 people on your side to say it's worth us hearing this.
Right. This is, I mean, in some ways, these are the states. A lot of the Republicans on Capitol Hill have been upset with the president, saying power grab, executive orders, and they've been furious at that. But this is the states who are sort of carrying the water on that issue. And so they first had to show that they could bring the case.
Right.
What was their harm?
Well, basically, these cases, the states said there's going to be a real economic impact for us for benefits if people are left here with some kind of legal status, not citizenship, but they'll be able to do things like get driver's licenses and file for other things that have a price tag to them. And these states said it's actually going to cost us money out of our pockets to comply with this. So they were able to show they had harm, so they could sue.
All 26 states led by 26 Republican attorney generals. I take it there's no Democrat in there.
Right. And there are 13 states, I think, in the District of Columbia who are on the other side. They're opposing this, and they're trying to support the administration through this fight.
All right, Shannon. No one's smarter on the Supreme Court than Shannon Bream. Shannon, thank you.
Good to see you.
And the On the Record political panel is back from the Washington Times, Stephen Dinan, and from the Daily Beast, Betsy Woodruff. Stephen, this must make the president very unhappy. This is the whole executive order issue. And the Republicans have been screaming that the president was grabbing power. And now you got a court that says to the president, Republicans are right. You grabbed too much.
It's a devastating ruling for the president because he had insisted again and again, this is legal. Past presidents have done it. And the 2-judge majority on this panel said, no, not only did you violate some procedural laws by issuing this policy, you actually broke immigration law by doing a waiver this broad. This is an issue. Remember, if you step back, the president had said repeatedly he didn't have this power. He didn't have this power. He got essentially baited into this by the immigrant rights advocates who said, no, you do. After the elections last year, he changed his mind and said, I do have the power after all, and went ahead and did it. Then made a very interesting statement. He told the activists, I changed the law to do this. And the judges actually threw those words back at the president yesterday and said, you yourself said you changed the law. You can't do that. That power belongs to Congress.
All right. Well, so that really stings with the president on this one because he's been shut down by the Court of Appeals. I don't know what the Supreme Court's going to do. But, Betsy, there's another issue is on Capitol Hill now. The Senate passed a bill where it said that Gitmo couldn't be closed and bring the people here to the United States. The president, we thought, would do that by executive order. So tonight, do you think he's thinking about using an executive order?
I think without a doubt. But look, there's 2 sides to this, right? On the one hand, the president wants to close Gitmo, but the challenge is that roughly half of the current Gitmo detainees have actually been cleared for some sort of release from that particular facility. But the issue is that we can't find countries that want to take them or countries with conditions that are suitable for them. So the president's argument has been, well, other countries don't want to take these guys, so let's just send them to the U.S. And
U.S. prisons. U.S. prisons, not letting them into your neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. And unsurprisingly, that's a little bit politically fraught. So the president's use of his executive authority in this case both would have potential legal problems, right? That would obviously have a court challenge. But also on a political level, it gets him in kind of a tricky situation.
Of course, this president isn't the first one to use executive order, is he, Stephen?
No, but look, this is an issue where when Democrats controlled Congress, they put restraints on the president to transfer prisoners from Gitmo. When control was divided between Democrats and Republicans, they kept the restraints in. now the Republicans control, the restraints are still there. This is an issue that's had bipartisan support to keep these transfers from happening.
Well, why don't they want them transferred? This is what I don't get. I don't understand, because I did the criminal defense work, and when you have a group of people and they get put into the U.S. system, whether they're gangs or whatever, they get sent to every different facility. They're not housed together. At least housed in Gitmo, they have each other. They speak the same language. I would imagine if I were one of the Gitmo prisoners, I'd rather be in Gitmo than alone in Supermax.
Well, but the plan, I don't know that they can be in a Supermax, right? They have to be treated according to rules of war. So that's why they're called detainees. They're not, I misspoke when I said prisoners earlier, or prison. That's actually not true. It's a detention facility.
But I don't want to be detained. I don't want to be detained alone in any U.S. prison. I don't want to be in the Clinton Correctional Facility with up in North
They're still going to be with each other, right? It's going to be, the plan was
they'll separate them, aren't they?
Well, the plan was to have one facility in Illinois that the president actually identified to move them to.
Well, that fell flat. I remember that didn't go over too well.
Well, Congress stopped
Well,
them.
maybe if they'd stick together, but I don't know why the Gitmo detainees, as you corrected me, I don't know why they care, where they are. But, that's sort of the irony. But anyway, we like to fight here in the United States over things. Anyway, Betsy, Stevens, stick around.